Morning, Bhante. Morning, Brian.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Brian.
Good morning. Good morning, Bhante. Good morning, Brian.
Yes, where is that?
Okay.
Bhante.
Good morning.
Okay.
Okay, let us begin now with the meditation first. Uh, let us recite Metta together. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds.
Let no one deceive another,
Another,
nor despise anyone anywhere.
neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another.
As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divine living here, not falling into erroneous views, but vigorous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to earth in the womb. With this metta thought in the at the back of our mind, let us begin our meditation on vipassana or mindfulness meditation. As we breathe in, notice the breath flowing into the lungs, touching our nostrils, and then expanding the lung area, and then expanding the lower abdomen. As we breathe out, we notice the lower abdomen is contracting, chest area is contracting, and the breath leaving nostrils. This, when we breathe out, we notice the breath leaving our nostrils, and then we also notice as we inhale and exhale that there is a very brief pause between inhaling and exhaling. These things happen very naturally without our effort or control. So we feel the breath, feel our perception, feel our thought and our consciousness as we breathe in. They change as we breathe out. They all change exactly as the breath is changing as we breathe in and out. And then we find there is nothing to get excited or to hold on to. In fact, this is how we really see how things are changing, continuously changing. When things are changed, appear and disappear, there cannot be anything that does not change
and therefore we naturally let that happen and let go of whatever arises and let it pass away. And then this is what we call nissarana, or abandoning, letting go. In the mundane called generosity, of letting go of holding to anything. And then we see the body relaxes, mind relaxes, breath relaxes, and then at that moment feeling of metta takes root, because there is no resentment, no disappointment, no anger at this moment as we practice. And then we also notice that we are practicing this meditation starting from the middle of March, because there are many suffering beings, that opens our heart, melts our heart, compassion arises in us also very naturally. And then our restlessness, worry, sleepiness, drowsiness, and doubt fade away. As they fade away, we gain joy, happiness, and concentration. With this concentration, we notice every minute little thing in the body and mind changing. Nothing stays fixed permanently. They all change incessantly, never remaining the same for 2 consecutive moments. This, friend, is also a reality, and this is what the Buddha called seeing things as they really are. Things here, breath, body, feeling, perceptions, thought, and consciousness, these are the things that we have. These are the material that we work with all the time. And when we see them changing, we accept it rather than trying to resist and stop, which we cannot do. And with this, let us continue our silent practice, just noticing all this happening. Don't try to use words, names. Simply become aware of it. That is what is called mindful awareness or mindfulness practice, or seeing things as they are. And so we will continue this practice for next 20 minutes. dukkha pattaca nidukkha, bhaya pattaca nibhaya, soka pattaca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta thought, let us focus our mind on the topic that I am going to speak on. I spoke at certain length on mentality, materiality, consciousness, and then contact. Now, today's topic is feelings. As we all read in the dependent origination, feeling arises from contact. Depending on contact, 6 kinds of feelings arise. What are the 6 kinds of feelings? Through the eye is called chakku sampassaja vedana. Chakku sampassa means through the eye contact, feeling arises. Through the ear contact, feeling arises. Through the nose contact, feeling arises. Tongue contact, feeling arises. Through the body contact, feeling arises. Through the mind contact, feeling arises. And therefore, feeling arises from contact. Then, feeling is one of the mind conditioner. You remember we mentioned in Sankara, when we talk about Sankara, we mentioned there are Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, Chitta Sankara. Chitta Sankara is defined as mentally the feeling and perception, Vedana Sanya. So Vedana is already in mind conditioner. It is this mind conditioner that becomes active when senses and sensory objects come have contact. When contact arises, feeling arises. And contact also is one of the mental factors. Contact is, we say, phassa, vedana, sanya, chetana, manasikara. Out of that phassa is the beginning of feeling. So when there is, phassa means contact. When there is contact, there is a feeling. The contact is a mental factor among materiality group. Feeling also is in the materiality group. So therefore when contact arises, feeling also arises. And therefore it is one of the 5 mental factors. Then feeling is one of the mental factors and also one of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. You remember 4 foundations of mindfulness: mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of Dhamma. Therefore, it is one of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And one of the 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates are form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. And feeling is so important that the entire teachings of the Buddha is based on feeling. So, therefore, feeling has such a important role to play in our life, in the dependent origination, in our soul existence. Let us try to explore further the feeling. There was a man called Nakula Pita. He became famous by his son's name. Nakula is his son, and he was famous, and therefore his father was called, people called his father Nakula's father. So that became his name. When he was very old, he went to the Buddha and he said, I am aged, Venerable Sir, come to the last stage, afflicted in body, often ill, let the Blessed One instruct me. So this is how when somebody is old feels. Then the Buddha gave him a very brief instructions. He said, it is so, household, if anyone carrying around this body of yours were to claim to be healthy even for a moment, what is that other than foolishness? You should train yourself thus. Even though I am afflicted in body, my mind will not be afflicted. So when pain or feeling arises, especially uncomfortable feeling, painful feeling arises, if it is due to the old age, then the Buddha said, when you have bodily feeling, don't let it affect your mind. If you deal with the mental bodily feeling, it is just like hit by one dart. If you let the mind also to be afflicted, and then you will be attacked by second dart. When you are attacked by one dart, if you just let it happen and don't try to feel bad about it, then that pain, that dart, pain arises from that dart, slowly fades away. But after being affected by or hit by one dart, if you have mental pain, then you will be hit by the second dart before the pain of the first dart is over. So you keep having, you are going to have two darts. However, when the Nakula Pita did not understand this instruction, out of respect for the Buddha, he did not even ask questions, and he paid respect, and very delighted he left him. But still he was not fully convinced with the Buddha's answer. So he approached Venerable Sariputta and asked him to explain in details the meaning of the Buddha's brief statement. When the Sariputta said, a person who is unfamiliar with the teachings of the Buddha regards the five aggregates as his self. With the change of decay of aging of these aggregates, there arises in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Thus he is afflicted both in body and mind. Now this is very important thing to remember. When feeling arises, we should not be upset. This is why we use mindfulness of feeling meditation. When mindfulness of feeling meditation, when we practice it, we learn to deal with the feeling. That is what we learn from the mindfulness of meditation on feeling. That's what we learn. There we learn Sukhang Vedanang Vedyamano, Sukhang Vedanang Vedyamita Pajanati. When we experience pleasant feeling, we become aware of the fact that we are experiencing pleasant feeling. This is very important thing, as I mentioned several times. This is the time we just don't say words. We simply become aware of the pleasant feeling as pleasant feeling. When unpleasant feeling arises, we become aware of the unpleasant feeling, wherever it arises. And when neutral feeling, there is no one word for neutral feeling. It is said, adukkamadukha vesana, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. Neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling is not some kind of mixed feeling. In our conversations, when some issues arise, people, especially in the West, I heard them say, I have a mixed feeling. In this description of feeling, we don't find any category for the mixed feeling. What we have is a pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. Now, we will explain these things in more detail as the talk develops. I am not going to end this talk on feeling today, and I think tomorrow I continue it with some details. And when ordinary person who does not know Dhamma, this description we find always in the Buddha's teaching, the way how one who does not know Dhamma behaves and the one who knows Dhamma behaves. Big difference. The one who knows Dhamma, one who does not know Dhamma, has he has very wrong attitude towards himself. He said he may think I have soul or self, my body is self, my feelings are self, perception is self, volitions are self, consciousness is self. And because of this notion of self, the person does not see the Dhamma. Because the notion of self can block his wisdom eye. So the noble disciple of the Buddha, or noble disciple means the disciple who has learned the Dhamma, who associates with Kalyana Metta, who cares for Dhamma, who tries to live in accordance with Dhamma. This is how he thinks. Who has heard the Dhamma, on the other hand, does not regard the aggregates as himself. Aggregates may change, but sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair do not arise in him. In the other person who does not know the Dhamma, does not think of changing of these aggregates, and therefore he is obsessed with the notion of I, my, or these aggregates are self. But the one who knows the Dhamma sees that every aggregate is impermanent, including the pain, including the feelings. And feeling changes, while the change and decay of the aggregates, they arise in him. There does not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Thus, he may still be afflicted in body. He is not afflicted in mind. You know, even arahants, according to some stories, had pain, very agonizing pain, when the Buddha or other monastics went up to them and asked them how they are doing. Is the pain reducing or increasing? These great, even arahants, would say this pain is not decreasing, it is increasing. It's like splitting my head, just like somebody taking a rope and put around my head and pull it, and the headache is so strong, I feel like the head is going to split into pieces. That kind of feeling they had. And still they did not have the kind of mental pain. Mental pain. So, uh, so we can understand this. So, Nakula Pita, after listening to Venerable Sariputta, was rejoiced and left him with pleasure. And since then he continued to practice these instructions. We can say that the entire teachings of the Buddha, as I mentioned earlier, depends on feeling. For instance, what is the first truth? Suffering. So the Buddha said, because I have taught only two things, suffering and the end of suffering. Suffering is a feeling. End of suffering is the end of that feeling, that particular feeling. That is painful feeling, unpleasant feeling. So the story of Nakula Pita points to the essence of the Buddha's teaching on ending the feeling of suffering. Because of our untrained body, sense, and consciousness, we suffer physical pain, such as bodily pains, bodily illness, and we continue to suffer. So our suffering, as Venerable Sariputta said, explained to Nakula Pita, because we regard the five aggregates such as body, feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness as being in ourself, or ourself as being in them. In fact, the feeling we all have of I am or I exist as what Western psychology calls the ego, exist from clinging to these aggregates and regarding them as mine or me. The feeling becomes very unbearable because of this notion of I. If we learn that even this notion is not something exists, we can deal with pain. Uh, we can use feeling as an object of mindfulness meditation, as I mentioned earlier, as the Buddha showed us in Vipassana meditation in the 4 foundations of mindfulness practice. In the Buddha's teaching, the word feeling, he would use the word feeling both in Pali and Sanskrit uh, to include both physical sensations and mental emotions. Now, whenever we talk about feeling, people may have this question in their mind, whether we talk about physical sensation or emotions. So, for clarity, I use the word sensation to refer to feelings that arise from external sensory contact, and emotion to refer to non-sensory feelings that are generated internally. When I use the word feeling, now these 3 words we have to remember: sensations, emotions, and feelings. When we use the word feeling, I mean to include both sensations and emotions. So, friends, from now on, whenever you hear me talk about feeling, you have to understand that I mean both emotions and sensation. Now, let us see some points that we can remember to deal with feeling. So you can practice mindfulness of feeling within your regular meditation on mindfulness of breathing. In mindfulness of breathing discourse, the second tetrad, there are mindfulness of breathing has divided into 4 groups. First group is first tetrad, group of 4, refer to mindfulness of the body. Second tetrad or second group of 4 refer to mindfulness of feeling. And therefore, even in the mindfulness of breathing, you have the feeling. I mention every day in our short guided meditation instructions, as we breathe in, we feel the breath, we feel the perception. So feeling arises as we breathe in and out. And in mindfulness of breathing meditation, it is mentioned very specific kind of feeling, like piti, sukha, and then passaddhi and tranquility, piti parisangvedyasi samiti, sukha parisangvedyasi samiti, sabba sankara, chitta sankara parisangvedi. Here word chitta sankara is used, as I mentioned earlier, chitta sankara is used for perception. In Anapanasati Sutta, we hear Pitis Patisangvedi, Sukha Patisangvedi, Chitta Sankara Patisangvedi. So again, the Buddha brought the feeling in mentality group into this practice. Then Passambhang Chitta Sankarang Asisamit. Passambhang means tranquilizing the mental conditioners. What is mental conditioner? Feeling and perception. So you can see the connection between materiality, and meditation practice. In order to show the link between all these things I mentioned, because this is also quite relevant to our discussion. Then, when feeling arises, notice whether they are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. As I said in Pali, there is no, the word used in Pali is adukha masukha. Adukha, it is not dukkha, asukha, not sukha. It is very interesting term. Adukha masukha vedana. Dukkha is painful. Adukha means not painful. Asukha means not happy, not pleasant. So this is neither painful nor pleasant kind of feeling. That in higher discussion on a higher level is called upekha. Neither pleasant nor unpleasant. That feeling is called upekha. So when this pleasant feeling arises, we become mindful of it. Unpleasant feeling arises, we become mindful of it. When we experience neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling, what is called equanimous feeling, we become mindful of that. And we have to watch as each feeling arises, peaks, and passes away. If you use any word at that time, you muddle up everything. You cannot see what is happening. But you can see the each feeling arising, reaching the peak, and passing away. It happens so quickly, friends, that you hardly can notice if you do not have good concentration. So mindfulness practice can become very effective and meaningful and successful if you have concentration. So these two go together. So arising, peaks, and passing away. You do not need to do anything to control these feelings or make them change, because they happen by themselves. You don't have to do anything. You just pay attention. Then simply observe and then return your attention to your regular subject. What is the regular subject? The breath. Then when feeling arises, notice whether they are sensations that result from contact with an external object, or emotions that arise internally. Remember, I mentioned these two terms earlier: sensation and emotion. Sensation arises from through the contact of senses and sensory objects. Emotion arises without any particular sense and sensory object connected. For instance, sometimes you get up in the morning, you feel very emotional. You don't know what, you don't know why, how. You simply feel yucky, so to say. Not to, not, don't feel doing anything. That is your emotion. And you go to know the difference between these two. Okay. And then Simply observe and then return to your breath. And then, what is the next one? Watch as each rise, peaks and passes away. Then return the attention to breath. Friend, this is why we recommend people to practice meditation in the morning. And when you have a sleep, get up. The brain still is not functioning 100%. There are some gas, carbon dioxide, stays in the mind because it is not very active. When brain very active, mind becomes very clear, and then meditation becomes very good. So notice this sensation, notice this emotion, sensation, and continue your practice. So I combine dependent origination with the practice of meditation because this is a practical thing. Okay, now I want to end this morning session like this, and I continue this tomorrow. May all these beings who are suffering from COVID, millions of them, I noticed this morning the United States is on the top. 100,000, more than 100,000 people are dead. Very, very heartbreaking, unfortunate situation. Friends, this is real time for us to practice, to have spiritual wish. These people, the suffering people, and those who are in hospitals, home, and then quarantining. May they all be free from this sickness and return to normal life and live long in very good health. And we know many people died. This 100,000 in the more than 100,000, 100,400 something today, and their friends and relatives. Surely they are in pain and suffering by losing their loved ones. May they be free from that grief, that pain, that sensations and emotion. May they be free from that. May they be free from this suffering. And there are many people who are trying to help them in many ways, very sincerely, honestly, using their time, energy, skill, and comfort. They sacrifice all these things to support these people, and may they all be free from pain and suffering. May they continue their wonderful selfless service in good health and with a good attitude, good feeling. And then there are some others who are trying to find some vaccine. May they be successful very quickly to help these people and to prevent this happening again. And then there are leaders all over the world, leaders in every country. I wish these leaders have wisdom, compassion, patience, understanding, and forget all their differences, political and otherwise, and think of these suffering beings and make right decision, wise decision, compassionate decision to help these people. With this very earnest wish and pray, I want to end this morning's session. Thank you very much for coming and joining us.